This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Love and War, Part 17. When we left off, the memories of both Melissa and Donovan were being challenged by their therapists, and Nigel had shown that he wasn't new to this. He was true to this. Samuel and Miss Charlotte are the newest engaged couple. Congratulations. And Selima's suspicions have been assuaged, at least for now, while True and Big Wood are still basking in the glow of their recent engagement. True is still on the job. Selima, Stephanie, and True have been working with the Queen Mother for over a year and a half, and as a result, they've been working with Jeff too. They've had quite enough time to get to know him, and while True doesn't trust him 100%, he's come across as a nice enough guy, and he's certainly put in enough work to demonstrate that he's serious about replacing Uncle Nigel in the family business. On more than one occasion, the Queen Mother has asked True her opinion of Jeff because she noticed that True was a little standoffish, and True's response was always the same. I can't quite put my finger on it. I get that he wants to know his family. He has questions about his siblings, but there's something about the questions that he asks, especially the ones he asks about Donovan, that just rub me the wrong way. LJ, Q, and Donovan, they all treat me like their little sister. So for me, anybody asking me anything about my big brothers has me looking at them sideways. Like we say in North Carolina, everything that's slit don't slide. So when True got a video on her satellite phone from the investigative soldier that she put on Jeff, she turned to Big Wood and said, "Oh, this nigga's toast." Big Wood, True, Selima, and Wise were on a jet heading back to Dallas. The plan was to check in with the family, get what they needed, and Stephanie, and head to Vegas. Samuel was having a bachelor party that night, and Miss Charlotte was having a bachelorette party. The following morning, the two would be wed at a chapel in Vegas, and then the newlyweds would be hitting the friendly skies for what looked to be a very long honeymoon. At least that's what they told Selima. Almost everybody had a role in what Wise was planning, and they would all be making their way to Miami before Selima, Stephanie, and True were scheduled to meet Manny there. The 48-hour countdown to Wise's big surprise had just begun. So on the private plane, True replayed the video that she had just watched for Big Wood while saying, "So apparently the soldier followed Jeff to this hotel last night. He's had a room there for 2 months, but we just got back to the States 2 days ago. He claimed that he ran into his old college friend when we got back." Big Wood said, "So he stayed overnight at the hotel with old girl?" True said, "Yeah. And then this morning, he dropped her off at the airport." Big Wood asked, "Know where she going?" True said, "No, but I'ma find out." Big Wood asked, "You think she the woman that attacked Maribel?" True said, "I don't know for sure, but I think so. But I can't imagine how that makes any sense. He trying to get with her. Why would he have her attack Maribel?" Big Wood said, "Maybe she attacked Maribel to get Maribel out of the way so she could have him to herself." True said, "But why would he lie to us? I would think that if he wants Maribel as much as he claims he does, he would want to find her attacker, even if that was his old college friend. And if he not into the old college friend like he claims, he wouldn't care what we did to her if she was responsible for attacking Maribel." Big Wood said, "It's very well possible that he has no idea that she attacked Maribel." True said, "Right, but why would he lie to us? Look at her back. He said she didn't have a tattoo on her neck, but I asked him if she had any other distinguishing marks, any tattoos anywhere else, and he said no." On the video, the woman can be seen leaning over to pick up her luggage. Her shirt rolls up in the back, and on her back was a spiderweb tattoo. True said he's protecting her identity because he's up to something, and she attacked Maribel because she's up to something else. Meanwhile, in Dallas, the Queen Mother said, "You want to tell me what the hell is going on?" And Artemis St. James, Uncle Andy's youngest brother, said, "Bella, I wouldn't even know where to start." And Q said, "My dear, Aunt Tessa's sick. She's been sick for a while now." The Queen Mother said, "And you knew and I didn't?" Q said, "You've been out of the country. It wasn't something I thought we should discuss over the phone. And it wasn't something that she wanted everybody to know." Then the Queen Mother asked Uncle Art, "And how long did you know about Jeffrey?" And Uncle Art said, since he was 4 years old, and Nigel did that test. The Queen Mother said, so the two of you just conspired to pass him off as my Andes? Uncle Art said, hold on, wait a minute. There was no conspiring. Nigel said, the Queen Mother said, I don't give a damn what Nigel said. You've been looking in my face for over 40 years, and you didn't think it was something that you needed to tell me or tell your brother? Art said, you have no idea what I went through. And telling either of you would have meant telling Tessa. She and I had just gotten married when Nigel came to me and told me. I didn't even know India was pregnant or that she had a baby. I was a child, Bella. And that's when it hit the Queen Mother. If her Andy was 21 and Nigel was 18, then Art was almost 15 when India got pregnant. And if all three of the St. James boys could potentially have been her baby's daddy, then a 21-year-old India had committed statutory rape, at the very least. Seeing the realization on his mother's face, Q said, when India told Wise that when she initially accepted Gera's offer, her plan was to break you and Pops up and get him back, I thought that was crazy as hell. But I also figured that all them damn years later, she had to have had an ace card. I questioned Pops about what happened with him and India back in the day. He told me that Uncle Nigel had came to him and confessed to having slept with her. He also told me that when he came back home on break for a visit and he wouldn't have nothing to do with her, she was upset and said that she had something to tell him. But he refused to listen to her. And when he went back to school, he heard that she disappeared. He said that there were rumors that when she came back, she was a little chubbier. And that back in the day, girls would go away and have babies and come back like nothing happened. He said he asked Grammy and Grandpops to look into it, and they told him that they knew where she was and what she was doing, and it ain't have nothing to do with him. He asked them straight out if she had been pregnant, and they told him no. Then right before the meetup with India and Uncle Nigel came and talked to Pops, he told me all about it. The Queen Mother said, and you kept it from me? Q said, I knew that Pops planned to tell you himself. And after the park, there was a lot going on. Pop's possible illegitimate child was not a priority. The Queen Mother said, so in the video when he was telling you to, Q said, exactly. On the video that Pops Andy had left for Q to play at the memorial service, there were multiple underlying messages. One was for Q to keep his eyes on Donovan, and the other was for Q to keep his eyes on this situation with Jeff. The Queen Mother said, that explains why you had no questions when I revealed that he was your brother 2 days ago, and you weren't surprised at all when Donovan said that he wasn't your brother. Then the Queen Mother looked at Uncle Art and said, so I take it that Tessa still doesn't know. And with her health, this isn't the time for her to find out, huh? When Uncle Art just shook his head, the Queen Mother said, I know that it's not really my business, but do you feel comfortable telling me what happened? Art was a man of a certain age, and even with the Me Too movement and women feeling empowered to talk about the ways in which they'd been violated, men hadn't quite gotten there yet. But Uncle Art said, Bella, your son arranged for me to take that test this morning with y'all, because it's very well possible that I could be that boy's father. Q had arranged for the Queen Mother to meet him and Uncle Art at the lab before Jeff and Nigel got there. And when she did, he let her know that Uncle Art needed to take the DNA test too. Uncle Art continued saying, and if I am, my wife can never, ever know. You have no idea how hard it would be for me to look that woman in her eyes and tell her that my first time was orchestrated by the sick mind of my father and arranged by his mini-me turned successor. And when it's all said and done, was completely against my will. And she certainly won't know that all of that produced a child. I have one son. His name is AJ, and I can't look him in his face and tell him none of this either. I've since forgiven Nigel. He's come to me and apologized. And just like his father, he's thrown money at the problems. The truth of the matter is, my big brother Andy was more of a father to me than Quincy II ever was. And he knew what happened to me. He just didn't know who the woman was. He was so disgusted by it that's why he never wanted to go back home. Quincy II was never apologetic. He didn't think he did anything wrong. His quiet, shy, reserved son was never gonna get none if he didn't arrange it. I should have been glad to have a grown woman who was experienced and could show me how to do it. Andy vowed that his children would never spend time with Quincy II alone. He made sure that from the day he knew what happened to me, I never needed them for anything. He was a good man, and there ain't another man in the world like him. The Queen Mother looked a little embarrassed, because she knew that was a dig at Idra. Q said, Uncle Art, my pops gave my mother permission to. Uncle Art said, I know that. I ain't got no problem with what my brother gave permission for. But I got a problem with a man wanting another man's wife for over 40 years. And as soon as he kicked the bucket, swooping in and claiming her as his own. So you marry that man, Bella, I'm done with you. Meanwhile, Donovan's missed call log and his voicemail are both filling up because he's powered his phone off and removed the SIM card. He does not have any luggage, so he's untraceable. And that cross necklace that his mother gave him, oh, he figured out that it was tapped. It's back in Denton, Texas, around the neck of the housekeeper. She's been instructed to leave it in his house when she's done cleaning up. He knows that his mother is going to come looking for him. And when she does, that necklace can't be around that housekeeper's neck. Or that housekeeper's neck is going to be in his mother's hands. Where is Donovan, you might ask? In Massachusetts. Waiting outside Rennie's lab for her to come out. He finally found out where she's been all this time. And he got LJ to tell him. Donovan said, bro, listen to me. In 2 days, we all going to be together. And it's going to be a show. And unless you want me and your sister to be the main attraction, I suggest you tell me where she is so that I can have this conversation with her now. LJ said, if it wasn't for the fact that I know that my little sister crazy as hell and she ain't got no decorum, so she don't care where she show out at, I wouldn't tell you this. But since I would hate for Wise's big surprise to be ruined, I'm going to tell you where she is. So when Rennie Johnson came out of that lab and saw Donovan's fine behind standing there waiting for her, she had to do everything in her power to resist the urge to run out that door and jump on him, spider monkey style. She calmly walked over to Donovan and said, fancy seeing you here. And Donovan said, don't act like that. Give me some love, girl. Then Donovan wrapped Rennie in his arms, kissed her on the forehead, and sniffed in her scent. He said, you look good and you smell good too. I missed you. You know I love you, right? And Rennie, barely able to control herself, said, I miss you and I love you too. Can I get some D? Donovan chuckled and said, I'm abstaining, Rennie. Rennie said, you what? You broke it? You lost it? It don't work no more? What you said? Donovan said, I'm abstaining, Rennie. Rennie said, no sex in the champagne room? And she touched his forehead to see if he had a fever and said, Donovan. Donovan said, we need to talk. You wrote me a letter and I got it. And Rennie said, and I got yours. And thank you so much for my graduation gift. I hate that they wouldn't tell you where I was graduating from so that you could have been here. Rennie graduated. She begged the Queen Mother and LJ to at least tell Donovan that. And the two discussed it and agreed that they would tell him. He tried to buy Rennie a car, but the Queen Mother let him know that she did not want Rennie to have the ability to travel at her own leisure. So instead, he took a page from Melissa's book and created her very own custom jewelry box with a false bottom. Inside the jewelry box was diamond earrings, a diamond necklace, and a diamond tennis bracelet. And in the false bottom was a letter. He had no way to know if she'd ever found the letter, but he knew Rennie. Donovan handed Rennie a bag that had everything she would need to get fly. And he said, head back to your dorm room and meet me at the entrance at 5:30. I'm gonna pick you up. Meanwhile, back in Texas, everybody is preparing to go to Vegas, either that night or the following morning. While the Queen Mother is helping Idra pack, she's telling him all about the conversation that she had with Art. She said, I can't believe that my Andy kept all of this. And then Idra stopped packing. He turned around and looked at her and said, how long is he gonna be your Andy? I get that he was yours for a very long time, but last time I checked, you are mine now. And I was planning to ask you a very important question in Vegas. The Queen Mother almost passed out. She said, I've always called him my Andy. You know what I mean. And you also know how I feel about you. But I don't know that I ever planned to remarry. She hadn't told him what Uncle Art had said about what he would do if she were to marry Idra. But on the way back to the estate, her and Q had had a little discussion about that possibility. And Q had said, so that you know, Idra intends on making you an offer while we're in Vegas. I wasn't supposed to tell you because he came and asked my permission. And at the time, I told him that if my father was okay with it, then so was I. And the Queen Mother said, but are you really? And Q said, I don't know. I mean, I understand that you introduced Pops to Aunt Nadia. And eventually, because of your relationship with Aunt Nadia and Uncle Anand, he met Idra. But all this time, I thought that they were friends. And I really never got the impression that Uncle Idra had any intentions towards you. So he hid it pretty well. If he never said anything to you or Pops about it, yet Pops was able to tell, and Uncle Art might be right. And Uncle Idra might have been plotting on you the whole time. Queen Mother said, I wouldn't call it plotting, son. What you don't know, and neither does Art, is that when me and Nadia were kids, I had a crush on her big brother. And by the time I was old enough to do anything about it, I had seen him with one too many women. And I had concluded that he was a player. If I was going to be with a man, he was going to be like my daddy. And your father met that bill. I'd long since gotten over my crush on Nadia's big brother. And it had never occurred to me that he shared the same feelings. It was not uncommon for a man who was 6 years a woman's senior to pursue her. But my father wasn't going. And Idra knew that. So by the time I was actually old enough for him to pursue, he was too late. My father only figured out that Idra had feelings for me because of the way he reacted when I was missing. And according to Idra, he thought he was over me too, until I went missing. When I came back, he wasn't plotting after me. He was glad I was back for my family, including my Andy. And if you recall, you all saw very little of him after that. And so did I. And after my Andy died, despite the fact that he and Andy had that conversation where he'd given him his blessing, he still didn't approach me. I pushed up on him. Q said, what? The Queen Mother said, you heard me right. I got needs too. At the estate, Idra said, so what's the plan, Bella? We just be boyfriend and girlfriend at this big age. And when one of us checks out, the other will be listed as the special friend in the obituary. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, Donovan has pulled up outside of Rennie's dorm. When Rennie sashayed out of her dorm room, she looked like a whole nother woman. When he saw her earlier, she had her typical pixie cut, styled to perfection. But when she stepped out of that dorm room, she was rocking a 30-inch jet black bust down, and her couture mini dress was sitting right on her 36 double D slim waist, wide hips, and thick thighs. When she turned to the side, he seen all that wagon Rennie was dragging. Donovan said, damn, this about to be way harder than I thought.